Visual, black screen. Sudden sound of a heavy machine starting up, loud hum-based audio. Visual, fast cuts montage. Molten chocolate falling in slow motion for K. Giant robotic arms moving fast. Thousands of wrapped bars flying on a conveyor belt. A clock ticking fast, narrator. It flows like a river. It hardens like steel. And it is consumed by the billions. Visual, drone shot of a massive factory exterior. Then cut to inside a wide shot of an endless factory floor. Narrator. Welcome to the Cathedral of Confectionery. This isn't just a kitchen, it is a fortress of engineering. A place where chemistry meets automation to perform a daily miracle. Visual. Zoom in on a single chocolate bar being wrapped. Text on screen, 1 million bars. Day. Narrator. Inside this mega facility, the clock is the enemy. Every single day, 24 hours a day, this machine beast must produce 1 million perfect chocolate bars. If the line stops for just 10 minutes, the company loses thousands of dollars. Visual close-up of a worker looking at a monitor. Then a shot of cocoa beans pouring like rain. Narrator. How do they turn a bitter, rock-hard bean into the silky, sweet obsession of the world? And how do they do it 1 million times a day? Let's step inside. Visual cinematic shots of cocoa trees in a tropical forest stock footage. Farmers cutting open cocoa pods. Narrator. Before the high-tech robotics take over, the story begins in the humid equatorial belt. Ghana, Ivory Coast, Ecuador. Here, the Theobroma cacao tree produces the raw fuel for our factory. Visual. Giant sacks of beans being unloaded from trucks at the factory. Dust flying in the air. Narrator. Every morning, trucks arrive carrying 50 tons of fermented, dried cocoa beans. But right now, they taste nothing like chocolate. They are bitter, acidic, and tough. Visual close-up of a quality control officer cutting a bean in half. Looking at the texture. Narrator. Before these beans can enter the mega factory, they must pass the cut test. Inspectors slice open random samples. If the fermentation isn't perfect, the entire truckload is rejected. There is no room for error when you are feeding millions. Visual. Beans entering a massive rotating metal drum. Heat waves visible. Thermometer showing 120 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Celsius. Narrator. Once approved, the beans enter the roasting zone. This is where the magic of chemistry happens. It's called the Maillard reaction. Visual. Animation showing molecules changing color inside the bean. Narrator. Inside these massive drums, temperatures soar to 140 degrees Celsius. The heat breaks down amino acids and sugars, unlocking over 400 distinct flavor compounds. This is the exact moment the factory begins to smell like heaven. Visual. Beans coming out, looking darker. Cracking sound effects. Narrator. But there is a problem. The delicious cocoa nib is trapped inside a useless shell. To fix this, the factory uses a brute force method called winnowing. Visual. Beans being smashed against a metal breaker. Fans blowing the light shells away. Narrator. Giant crushers smash the beans, and high-powered vacuum jets suck away the light shells, leaving behind only the pure, dark nibs. These nibs are the heart of the chocolate. Visual. Macro shot extreme close-up of cocoa nibs being crushed between heavy stone or steel rollers. Narrator. Now the engineering marvel begins. The nibs are solid, but they contain 50% fat cocoa butter. When you apply extreme pressure and friction, something incredible happens. Visual. Time lapse. The dry powder suddenly turning into a thick, dark brown liquid. Very satisfying to watch. Narrator. Under the weight of steel rollers, the solid nibs liquefy. This thick, dark sludge is known as chocolate liquor. But don't let the name fool you, there is no alcohol here. Just pure, intense cocoa. Visual. Large tanks mixing the dark liquid with white powder milk and crystals sugar. Narrator. But this liquor is too bitter to eat. To transform it into the milk chocolate we crave, it moves to the mixing hall. Here, massive tanks combine the liquor with powdered milk and sugar. Visual. The mixture looks sandy and gritty. A worker touches it, rubbing it between fingers. Narrator. At this stage, the texture is wrong. It feels like sand in your mouth. The particles are 100 microns wide. The human tongue can detect anything over 30 microns. To make it smooth, the factory must grind it down to a microscopic level. Visual, huge machine with rotating arms splashing the liquid chocolate against the walls. It looks like waves of chocolate. Narrator. Enter the conch. Invented by Rodolphe Lindt in 1879, this machine is the reason modern chocolate melts in your mouth. Visual, slow motion of the chocolate splashing. Sound of heavy churning. Narrator. For hours, sometimes days, heavy granite or steel rollers knead the chocolate paste back and forth. This violent motion does to things, it coats every tiny particle of sugar with cocoa butter and it evaporates unwanted acidic flavors. Visual, transition from a gritty paste to a glossy, smooth liquid mirror. Narrator. It is a process of refinement. By the time the conch is finished, the chocolate is smooth, luxurious, and ready for its final form. Visual, graph showing temperature going up and down. Then footage of chocolate flowing into molds. Narrator. But we are not done. If you cooled the chocolate now, it would be dull, crumbly, and turn gray. It needs to be tempered. Visual animation of crystal structures aligning. Narrator. Tempering is a precise dance of temperature. The chocolate is heated, cooled, and heated again to align the crystal structure of the cocoa butter. This gives the bar its famous snap and glossy shine. Visual. The pace of the video speeds up. Techno. Upbeat music starts. Fast cuts of molds being filled. Narrator. Now, the race begins. The tempered chocolate is pumped into the molding line. This is the heartbeat of the mega factory. Visual. Wide shot of the conveyor belt. Thousands of molds moving fast. Vibration tables shaking the molds to remove air bubbles. Narrator. Hundreds of molds pass per minute. Vibration plates shake the liquid to remove air bubbles, ensuring a perfect solid block. Then they enter the cooling tunnel, a 100-meter-long refrigerator. Visual. Bars coming out of the tunnel. Robots flipping them out of molds onto the belt. Narrator. 30 minutes later, they emerge solid. Robotic arms, moving faster than the human eye can see, flip the bars onto the packaging line. Visual. Wrapping machines working at blur speed. Sound of plastic crinkling ASMR. Narrator. This is the flow wrap zone. Optical sensors scan every single bar. If a bar is chipped or underweight, a jet of air blasts it off the line instantly. Only perfection survives. Visual, boxes being filled, stacked on pallets, forklifts moving them. Narrator. The machines wrap 500 bars every minute. That's 30,000 an hour. By the end of a single shift, this facility has produced enough chocolate to stack a tower higher than Mount Everest. Visual, slow motion shot of someone breaking a chocolate bar and eating it. Smile on face. Narrator. From a bitter bean deep in the jungle to a feat of high-tech engineering, the journey of a chocolate bar is nothing short of a miracle. Visual, final montage of the factory lights turning off or drone shot flying away. Narrator. It takes science, pressure, heat, and speed to create the simple joy we often take for granted. So the next time you hear that satisfying snap, remember the mega machine that never sleeps just to feed the world's sweet tooth. Visual. Screen fades to black. Text. Subscribe for more mega factories.